Goop Justice. Gwyneth Paltrow has won her lawsuit. I think they should make a documentary about this trial and call it Goop Justice. She wins $1 in her ski crash trial.
And probably 6 figures to make up for her legal fees.
Probably,
that was not mentioned in most of these articles.
Yeah, and she also
will be charging him for her legal fees.
See, even that seems like spiking the ball for somebody of her wealth class. Given the fact he's a doctor too, I suppose. But this trial has been hilarious. It really does feel like it's been some sort of fever dream comedy where like her lawyer is comically bad at talking. Like, how does a woman who's
it's the doctor's lawyer who is the problem.
It's both of them.
She's like starstruck at Gwyneth Paltrow and trying to like get lunch with her afterwards.
Her lawyer is comically bad at talking in any form of public speaking. His lawyer is obsessed with Gwyneth Paltrow.
It's a total Paltrow
It all
stan.
feels fake to me. Like none of this feels real. Like it feels like they could all be lizard people and we're just getting some type of weird show trial.
And this video at the end where she's walking out and says, "I wish you well," into his ear.
I'm sorry. It feels
sinister.
It feels sinister coming from her.
I was defending her the other day, but that felt personal.
I'm telling you. I feel like she could be some type of lizard person she takes the mask off when the day's over.
I don't know. The idea of a celebrity countersuing somebody when they themselves weren't actually injured, like, shouldn't it be enough to clear your name?
She's claiming that, well, she was the one who was crashed into.
Yeah.
So he like crashed directly into her back, but he says you were stopped, you shouldn't have been stopped. But if you're thinking about it, like if they were in cars, he'd still be to blame technically.
I am not the type of white person who grew up skiing. I've been snowboarding on a mountain exactly once, and I will say I fell down the mountain. I did not snowboard down it, so I could understand how, you know, somebody might just be like trying to get back up, or they stopped because there was something in the way and they needed to reroute. So I don't know. For me, I look at something like this and I'm like, you know.
Same for me. I played hockey. I wasn't allowed to have too expensive. We didn't have enough money to do 2 things that were expensive in my family. Like my brother skied. I played hockey, and my dad's like, yeah, I work for the government. You can't afford to also ski.
This is Gwyneth Paltrow, movie star and retired optometrist at a luxury ski resort. My heart is not exactly bleeding for either one of them.
Exactly. Neither one of these people seem like they're really victims here. They were both doing an extreme sport where injuries are extremely common, and neither of them is lacking for money to pay for their expenses. Like,
it's an old lawyer, and they're on like a rich person mount, like, you know.
But I like that this was a spectacle for us.
Yes, well, that's what I'm saying. Like we
deserved that.
It's a vibe after an entire summer of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, which just divided the public. It's good to have one where it's like they're both kind of ridiculous. Also, did you see the clip where he like brings up Epstein for some reason for no reason whatsoever?
Wait, can you play the clip?
I can play that clip. I mean,
didn't see this clip.
It's really funny. Like, okay, guys, I'm gonna put it into dual shot here. We're gonna watch this clip. It's really funny. Okay. You could be able to, Aiden, if you want to watch over here, it should play here if we can.
Yeah, I'm classifying it as an insult, but it's absolutely ignoring me. Ignorance. And that's what it felt like. It's like, what is going on
Podcast.
Here? This is obviously an issue that someone needs to be accountable for. And if they're never accountable, what are they going to do? They're going to do it again. Now we have the molesting of young children on an island.
Your Honor,
denial.
This is ridiculous testimony. He's talking about...
Whoa.
I love the objection, ridiculous testimony.
Denied.
I think her face is my favorite part. She's like,
it's ignorance.
They can't see it. But
wait, was she on the flight logs? Is that why he's saying
I have no
that?
idea if she's like,
Hold on.
chat. Somebody's gonna have to check. I'm not Googling Epstein flight logs on the work computer,
am.
that's for sure. And somebody can tell me if she was on the flight logs. It's just really funny that I don't know what that has to do with anything to do with the ski accident on a mountain in Utah, but that might be my favorite part. It's just like, and I'm being persecuted. What does that have to do
also,
with
as far as things that happen in the mountains of Utah, this is pretty tame. I know of a lot of people who went missing under extraordinarily terrible circumstances. But it's...
worse things could happen.
Exactly. That's the other thing about this, though, is like... The Epstein comment, you know, is a little funny, but like in that it's just totally ridiculous. But I'm also thinking about it, like I started thinking about Gwyneth Paltrow, and I'm like, wait a second, isn't she the same like person who sells all those bogus pills.
Yes. Well,
Like,
I mean,
the same ones that Alex Jones sells.
She literally, yes, has sold from the same manufacturer.
but she's
as
like
Alex Jones.
she's like kind of transitioned more into like, you know, like rich person lifestyle brand. That's what Goop is. That's why Goop she should have something called Goop Justice now.
Darn it. Gwen Stefani is on it, and Gwyneth is not.
Oh, close.
But I'm literally looking at the Epstein flight logs right now on the company Wi-Fi. Just
dude, that guy is probably like. He also said like he sent like an email to his daughter after this happened, where he's like, I'm famous, because he's like, ooh, I hit a celebrity.
It almost feels like just, you know, a guy was trying to get his name in the news because he was bored.
Yeah,
like
well, he's old, he's retired.
He's got nothing to do.
He's got nothing better to do. He's just hanging out.
And if you can get $3 million out of it.
Yeah, he initially tried to sue for $3 million. Good money if you can get it.
Then it went down to 300,000.
Oh God.
Yeah, and
Then
she's just
he
like,
got
and she
nothing.
fought. Well, I mean, I imagine
Then he
that
lost probably 300,000 on this.
I imagine that for a lot of people like this, they just assume that a celebrity of that size might just settle out of court.
That's probably what happened.
Which is even funnier. Gwyneth Paltrow's like,
I'm going down fighting. Like, she will fight for her truth.
She's the actual strong, independent woman.
But do you think that some celebrities are lizard people?
God, no.
No. Or politicians?
I don't think there's lizard people.
No.
You never know.
It was always meant as like a somewhat figurative, somewhat.
Yeah. Do I think that there
Literal
are
interpretation.
secret societies and that these people all are, you know, working to, or not all of them, but a lot of them are working towards the same agenda behind the scenes? Absolutely.
Do they have reptilian features and behaviors? Yes.
No. Behaviors, yes. Features, no.
That was
Sometimes features.
That was an old
Sometimes.
In the unlucky genetic lottery.
That was an old George Carlin bit where he talks about like you don't have to have a formal conspiracy. They go to the same board. They're in the same boardrooms. They go to the same colleges. They're all part of the same fraternities. It doesn't need to be formal for them to be able to move an agenda along for it to be successful. If anything, that gives them more cover, because you have an innocuous reason for meeting people. If you're just going to your 20-year like class reunion with the rest of your snobby friends from your law school, I guess a lot of these actors actually do end up going to like 4-year like good colleges, because they're all part of the same in group. I mean, we just had Kimberly Guilfoyle was on IRL the other night, and she used to be married to Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom's wife now is an actress named Jennifer Siebels Newsom, who was big before that. So it's like they're all part of the same clique. So when people say it's a big group and you're not in it, that's actually true, right?
Yeah, I will say this much for all the people who are sitting there going, yeah, it's the Freemasons. No. I wish we were that cool. Wouldn't that be cool?
Are they cool?
We get pizza and talk in a basement.
Okay.
That's what we do.
I've heard rumors.
No, I'm a 4th degree Mark Master Mason. Like I love what we do, but it's not that. Like, it's not that kind of thing where we grow. And everybody's like, oh, you don't really know until you get to 33rd. I know a lot of 3rd degree Masons. They're dudes that have like, you know, kids who went to school with me. Like, they're not.
What happened to the Knights of Columbus?
They're still around. My grandfather was one.
Okay, so I
have one of his pins, actually.
I see the.
But you can't be both.
You can't be both.
You can't be a Mason and Knights of
No.
Why not?
So the Knights of Columbus developed because of the Freemasons back in the 1800s,
okay.
because there were a lot of Catholic guys who wanted to be Freemasons because being a Freemason was cool back then. And
it's
then
not cool anymore.
It's just not really that much of a thing anymore.
I don't think people think it's cool anymore.
There's like 3 million of us.
I mean, to be totally honest, people think of like the like old dudes paddling each other and
if you want to think Freemasons and like actually get an actual idea of what we are, National Treasure does a great job.
You know that they did an episode of Castle that involved like somebody hid a fake treasure hunt to look for real gold, and it had to do with Masons and symbology all over buildings in New York, because they were all designed by the same group.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I did like a really poorly written senior thesis in high school on like the sacred geometry or like masonry ritual practices in the founding of America, and like the way that DC is architecturally planned.
Okay, I will say there is definitely a square and compass in DC. I will give you that.
But there wasn't most of DC all designed by the same dude?
Yeah, and there's no hard evidence he was a Freemason.
Okay.
But also that doesn't really matter because the people paying him were.
There you go.
So That said, I mean, listen, there are definitely Freemasons who are bad people, who are, terrible people. But you've got to be careful and look at who you're talking about, because there are Freemasons who were slave owners. There are Freemasons who were, mass murderers. There are Freemasons who were occultists and Satanists. But then if you look at like Aleister Crowley, he was never a Freemason. He made his entered apprentice degree, and then he was laughed out of his lodge for the things he was saying because they went against Masonic values, which are primarily Judeo-Christian. So you guys like him, like Anton LaVey wasn't a Freemason, but everyone thinks he was. So what you're looking at is a club that basically is for, men, that does charity work and is a place for you to get away from your wives a couple nights a month. And everyone thinks
that's why society's crumbling, because there's not enough of those anymore. That's the problem.
What I tell people is look at the list of presidents who are Freemasons.
Yeah.
And you will see that they were not doing anything like, a couple of them were like FDR, who was just a terrible, terrible person. But you'll see that most of the presidents who were Freemasons really didn't try any weird globalist stuff. They weren't into any sort of a lot of them were actually against making the United States a more centralized power. And if you go back far enough, the whole organization dates its roots to the Knights Templar, and then even further back than that to a guy named Hiram Abiff, who was one of the builders of Solomon's Temple. So
the question is whoever Gwyneth Paltrow's married to a Freemason? That's what we need to find out.
No, it's just some surfer dude.
We need to find out. Well,
that makes a lot of sense.
It's the people you least
some guy
expect.
who LARPs as a surfer dude, but is not.
That's even worse. That's even worse if you're pretending to be
sort of like how she's crunchy, but
but she's rich. So
she's
she can't
also
really
rich and smokes cigarettes.
Look,
she said you have to find the balance between tofu and cigarettes.
It sounds like something that's made to be like an infographic. It's made to be something so that
laugh, love.
Some lady can put on her Pinterest. Like some lady wants to put that on her Pinterest right now. So thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.